still with me, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Doug Chanco. Doug, here's what makes me sad about cases like this, but I think it's often true. I want your opinion as a criminal defense attorney. Charles Vallow, who is now dead, did report and said, listen, I'm concerned. She threatens me. We have a 6-year-old. She's saying irrational stuff. She needs serious help. But sometimes that's not enough. It doesn't mean that there are criminal charges to take. What do you do when you have someone with serious mental health issues and you say to the police, help? What happens next?
Sometimes there just isn't the right answer. And you're right, there are many situations where people will reach out, they'll ask for help from the police, and there's just nothing that can be done because there hasn't been a criminal charge. And that's exactly what we've seen here, is a situation where, is it foreseeable that something could happen? Potentially. Is it possible something could happen? Well, that may be more likely, but there wasn't enough. And if the officers had said right then that we're going to act on possible, every lawyer would have a field day with it because nothing had happened yet. And the problem is when you're looking back on it and say, I saw signs and there was the potential for something, now you second guess why. But hands can be tied very, very quickly, especially in cases like this with mental illness, where the law just doesn't have a resource readily available.
Right. No, I completely agree with you, Doug. And here's my next question, and I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are. I know what mine are. Do you think that it's likely that we will see Lori and Chad, one of them turn on the other or turn state's evidence against the other in this scenario?
Anything is possible when you have the opportunity, and it is now every person for themselves with what is the charges on the table and the facing of that kind of time. Nothing surprises me at this point. Solidarity makes a lot of sense because if you stick together, maybe we can both walk out of here. But if somebody gets a sweetheart deal opportunity, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see one of the two of them jump on it. And it's always a situation where the first one to make the deal, they're the one that got the better outcome.
Right. And you just stole my tagline, anything is possible. When I'm on the bench, every time I think I've seen it all, I haven't. And you never know what to expect. You never know what's going to happen. So we talked about this a little bit before briefly, and that is, as I understand it, I believe it's every 60 days. First of all, everything is stayed in Lori's case until there's a hearing. And there's a hearing because the state, as I understand it, has objected to the competency evaluation, saying that she's not competent to stand trial. In your experience, what are grounds that a state prosecution might say, we don't agree with that evaluation and we want to contest that?
Well, it's all going to come down to how the actual evaluation was performed. It's very common that when someone is found to not be competent to stand trial, that the state will object for that exact reason. They'll want to know why this particular doctor made that finding, what exactly happened during this evaluation, and to see if this person may have had a bad day when they were being evaluated, but maybe that's not the way they are normally. Can they actually assist in their defense? Do they understand what's going on? All of the things that matter in criminal prosecution. And so that's typically where the state will object and say, we want another doctor to look at this, or we don't think this particular doctor did their evaluation correctly, and here's why finding them to not be able to stand trial isn't appropriate.
And I'd like to listen to a little bit more of what some people are saying and what Lori herself said to question whether or not she actually has mental health issues or is not competent. Let's listen.
Oh, it just sounds weird. We have not opened the door for darkness, Mel. Darkness is knocking on the door all the time because that's the way dark works with the light. And I promise you that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in the cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is, because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
I know.
That's coming after me for zero reason besides the darkness of Kay, which you already know she's dark.
I haven't met her enough to know if she is dark or not. I've just met her slightly, and she seemed like a normal kind of person, but then I haven't engaged with her that much, so I don't know that personally.
So you don't know about her changing the thing for herself to be the beneficiary of the policy and all that stuff? None of that's dark, right?
Well, I haven't seen those documents, so I have no way of knowing.
I've seen them on my computer.
No, I have not. I haven't even looked in on your computer before.
Doug, have you ever seen a case in which a defendant is declared competent to stand trial, but when you're representing that defendant in court, you then have to say, wait a minute, they were competent, but now they don't appear to understand what's going on, and they're not competent to assist me in representing them mid-trial. Is that something potentially that could happen?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I speak from experience on that end. So yes, if you have someone who at the time of an evaluation was having a good day and the doctor said, I don't believe that they're not able to stand trial, but they should be able to stand trial, they can assist in their defense, they understand what's going on, and you're going in the middle of a trial, day one, day two, the stress of being involved in a court proceeding like that, this being their reality, and seeing that break right then and there, the lawyers will have a huge problem on their hands, and they'll want to address it with the court as quickly as possible.
Could it mean that the trial is suspended and resumed at a later date, or does it result in a mistrial?
I think either one could be potentially a case. It really just depends on what exactly happens. If it becomes an outburst where we have all of the jurors now seeing someone who's acting in a very, very strange way, that they go, whoa, this is not normal. And she gets up and starts clucking like a chicken and running around the courtroom, something just absolutely insane, then yeah, I would think a mistrial is more appropriate. But it really just depends on what happens and if they can salvage the jury.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've seen it happen as well. So I just think that it's going to be a long road in this case with Chad and Lori as well. And we're going to stay tuned and let you know as soon as we find out when that date is for that hearing and what happens next. Up next, our Talkback segment. I love this segment because we will have your reactions to the Bahena Rivera guilty verdict and your thoughts on his demeanor when it was read. That's next after a short break here on Court TV Live. Free. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott with you this evening. It's time for our Talkback segment, one of my favorite sections where each day we post a question on Court TV social media pages. Today we gathered your thoughts and comments about the Bahena Rivera guilty verdict. What do you think? Did the jury get it right? And still with me to help break this down, talk about it, criminal defense attorney Doug Chanco. First, Vicky, no remorse, no emotion. He had all those weeks to get rid of any evidence, blood, weapon. I'm so glad the jury got this one right. Let me ask you, Doug, I want to talk about that one first. I think that's probably a general type of response to this verdict. What do you think?
You know, the evidence lined up in this. The defense couldn't just say it was somebody else did it and it's two men and they're the ones that were involved. The jury wasn't going to line up with that and say, I agree. So I think this comment's spot on. The evidence showed and led to the conviction.
And I still go back to that 7 hours and 15 minutes of deliberation because the jury, obviously, I believe in our jury system, they took it seriously. They did their job. Now, this is what I love about Court TV viewers. They watch, they listen, they give their opinion. Alicia had the opposite opinion. This is a horrible verdict, a terrible injustice to Christian Bahena Rivera. I am devastated, absolutely devastated for this young man, his family, and the family of Molly Tibbetts, whose killers have gotten away with murder. I have no faith in the justice system whatsoever. Doug, here's what I want to talk about in this case. We have to acknowledge, statistically in terms of crimes, you know, he had no criminal history. There is no evidence that he's done anything of any bad nature prior to this murder. He's been convicted of murder, and there are pictures in which he's smiling and happy, and he has family, that put up money for his legal fees, so he has support. What do you think that piece of that? I think it means people are sympathetic to him. What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely. At the end of the day, there is an outcome. There are going to be unhappy people on both sides. The poor victim's family is never going to feel fully vindicated no matter what, even with this verdict. The same thing goes for our charged defendant here. Now he has moved past the presumption of innocence. He has now moved into the sentencing phase, and in July, I would be very surprised if they do not end up with a maximum sentence against him. So that is a lot to deal with. It's very easy to understand why, when you have a young person with no criminal history, that people could say, how could this happen? But that's what we had a trial for. And he had the opportunity to get up and tell everything about it, and never going to have a situation where everyone agrees with the outcome. But in this situation, it looks like, based on the evidence, the jury made the decision that they were able to come to and said it was a conviction.
Right. Absolutely agree with you. Now, Mo said, I'm not surprised he was found guilty because his account of what happened was inconsistent. And I think that's probably true for a lot of the jury. At least now Molly's family have got justice. And like you said, it doesn't bring the victim back. It doesn't bring Molly back. But I have to hope and pray for the family that it does bring them some kind of justice. Susan, and I have to do a shout out because she's watching it in England. We're so happy for our viewers here in the United States as well as in England. Justice for Molly and her family. No remorse, no emotion. And he even nodded when the verdict was announced. And that brings up a point, Doug, that I want to ask you about. Do you have any opinion about the fact that this defendant really maintained the exact same composure throughout the entire trial, as well as the reading of the verdict? Did that say anything to you as a criminal defense attorney?
It didn't say anything to me besides reaffirming what I have said so many times throughout my career. You are in a fishbowl and being watched the entire time that you're in that courtroom. Now, everyone reacts to stress very differently. This young man may just have shut down like that and not shown any emotion and been stoic, because that may be how he is able to cope with the stress of being on trial. But it didn't mean that the jury or anyone else would interpret it the same way. And what we're seeing here is a perfect example of people saying, that's not how I would react. And it's why it's so very important to understand the entire time that you are there that everyone is watching every move you make or don't make, or reaction you make or fail to make, and how important that can be to the ultimate outcome. Because I am certain that there are jurors that had the exact same opinion as what we're talking about.
All right. And Doug, you know, you made a really good point earlier that I forget about, but as a criminal defense attorney, you know the stress these defendants are under during trial. I want to thank you so much, Doug Chanco, for being with us. And up next, it's been a pleasure, first of all, my being with you. But up next, Vinny Politan in closing arguments. He is going to take a look at the verdict in the Bahena Rivera case. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend.